Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm the head of distribution marketing here at Definiti. We're delighted to have you here during day 2 of the 2023 Definiti Retirement Academy. If this is your first day with us, welcome. And if this is your second day after joining us for our sessions yesterday, welcome back. For those of you who have never attended a Definiti Retirement Academy before, our format this year is a bit different. We had typically offered this as a thought leadership event on an annual basis. We've gotten such tremendous feedback from the advisors and plan sponsors who have attended in the past that we decided to move forward in offering 2 semesters this year, one here in May and then one again in November. So a little bit about Definiti, for those of you who may not be familiar. We are a national retirement services consulting and TPA firm servicing over 14,000 plans representing over $15 billion in assets under management. We provide traditional defined contribution and defined benefit administration on the defined benefit side, both small and large plan actuarial. We provide pension outsourcing services, legal and compliance in-house ERISA counsel services, as well as full scope 316 administrative fiduciary services in tandem with our key distribution partners. We're delighted to bring forth 4 distinct partners today who are going to be presenting in tandem with Definiti. We have our partners from Principal Financial Group, from Fidelity, Transamerica, and John Hancock joining us today. I encourage you, take notes. These sessions will be recorded as well, and they'll be made available to you on the Definiti website probably about a week or so after the event concludes. And always, if you have questions, please feel free to submit those questions in the chat. Time permitting, we'll allow for Q&A at the end of our different sessions. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. So I have the pleasure this afternoon of introducing John Maury, who's the Director of Strategic Relations at Principal, and Lance Schoening, who's Director of Policy at Principal. And they're going to kick things off this afternoon by having a discussion on Secure 2.0. So Lance and John, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Thomas. And hello to everyone. My name is John Maury. I'm the Director of TPA Relations with Principal. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Principal, I just have 2 quick notes to share. First, with around 11 million participants, we're a top 3 provider in the defined contribution space, and we're the biggest provider of DBs, ESOPs, and non-qualified plans. And we compete across all market segments from startups to jumbo plans. So whatever opportunity you have, we likely have a great solution for you. And second, we have over 50 core market wholesalers across the country and around 20 mid-market wholesalers. And they would all love to meet with you and discuss how they can help grow your retirement plan business. So if you're not sure who the principal wholesaler is in your territory, please feel free to send me an email or LinkedIn message and I can get you in touch. My email is maury.john@principal.com. That's maury.john@principal.com. And finally, I'm excited we're able to get Lance Schoening to join us today to share some commentary and updates around Secure Act 2.0. Lance is the Director of Policy on our government relations team here at Principal. He's responsible for analysis of retirement legislation and regulation and advocacy efforts to promote policies that support retirement readiness efforts. Lance also serves as a policy board member of the American Benefits Council and formerly chaired the Retirement Plans Committee of the American Council of Life Insurers. So with that, I will throw it over to you, Lance.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone, and or good afternoon. And thank you to Definiti for the invitation. Secure 2.0, a new retirement law at the end of 2022. It is the topic of the day, topic of the year. I know that I've been on the road pretty much constantly talking to different advisor and plan sponsor groups about what's entailed and included in this new legislation. So excited to bring that to you today. We just have time to kind of cover the highlights, but I will direct you to some additional resource information where you can go and access more detailed summaries and see more information on Secure 2.0. So if we go into the deck on kind of the first slide, if we could advance to the next slide, please. We'll start with just an overview on provisions that are specific to small employers, to startups specifically. And a really exciting one here is that, the startup tax credit was increased in Secure 1.0 a number of years ago to a maximum cap of $5,000 per year for each of the first three years of operation. With Secure 2.0, they've tweaked it and enhanced it for employers that have between 1 and 50 employees. So for that group, they can now count 100% of their startup and maintenance costs for each of those first 3 years towards the tax credit calculation. And so it gives them a better opportunity to maximize the tax credit for each of those first 3 years. In addition, there's a new tax credit offered, again, for that group of 1 to 50 employers. It's for startups that also offer an employer contribution, and it's equal to the employer contribution up to a cap of $1,000 per employee. You get that credit at 100% of those employer contributions up to the cap for the first 2 years, and then it grades down over the next 3 years and then zeroes out in the 6th year. Employers that have more than 50 employees can also take advantage of the credit, but it's reduced for each employee that you have over 50. So that's a lot of information to go through. Contact your principal wholesaler or go to the website that I'll show at the end of this deck. And we have more information on how you calculate this credit. We also have a separate tax credit resource piece with a calculation page that you can work through and determine, what's best for your client. One thing to note, if you are taking advantage of the new credit for employer contributions, you cannot also take a deduction for that, and you cannot also count employer contributions towards your startup and maintenance costs for the traditional startup credit. So no double dipping. Another note here on the tax credit, for an employer that's starting up a plan by joining an existing pooled employer or multiple employer plan, you still get the full tax credit for the first 3 years, regardless of how long that MEP or PEP has been in existence. So that's another great clarification. And then finally here, you'll see a theme throughout this: additional options and flexibility for Roth, and in this case, simple and SEP IRAs. Those sponsors could allow their employees to designate those contributions as Roth in nature. More guidance needs to come on this particular provision to determine how an employer would go about that process, but a great new flexibility option. If we go to the next slide, we'll focus on some new capabilities that are available for plans. The first one is really targeted at addressing the student loan debt crisis that we have today. You may have clients that have employees who are really challenged by the level of student loan debt that they carry, and they're not able to participate in their employer's defined contribution plan. And so this new capability would allow an employer to offer a matching contribution based on the student loan debt repayments, and that match would go to the retirement plan, to the defined contribution plan. So it would allow the employee to continue paying down their debt loads, but allow the employer then to help that employee get a start with retirement savings through this new matching capability into the defined contribution plan. So again, an exciting new flexibility option for employers that maybe have a good portion of their employee base, or they hire new employees traditionally with higher education debt loads. In addition, there's a real focus on helping older workers accelerate savings and hold on to those savings longer. So you're probably aware of this. The required minimum distribution age was moved to 73, and that impacts anybody who turned 72 or will turn 72 in 2023. So those people are not required to take an RMD. They have another year to do that. This will be further moved out to age 75 in 10 years. Additionally, there's a higher catch-up contribution limit that will be available only for individuals that are between the ages of 60 and 63. So they will be able to contribute up to $10,000 in catch-ups beginning next year. For simple plans, it's lower, it's $5,000. And there is an additional formula here where it could be as high as 150% of the current catch-up limit. So we could expect that to be maybe higher than $10,000 when this starts. In addition, additional Roth flexibility, as I mentioned, there is provision here that would allow plans to permit their employees to treat their employer contributions as Roth in nature. And for this, the employees must be 100% vested in those contributions to be able to take advantage of this. But while this is available now, there is additional legislative regulatory clarity needed before you could move forward to adopt this new capability. Particularly, there is an error in the text in regards to the tax treatment or the wage classification of these employer contributions once they're reclassified as Roth. So we need to get that clarity before we move forward to adopt that. We move to the next page. We will continue on the discussion about new capabilities. There's a whole kind of a set of provisions that are focused on streamlining plan administration. So a couple of options here or new capabilities where there's an expansion of the safe harbor capabilities for self-correcting inadvertent errors. And so what we call the EPCRS system is the system afforded by regulators for plan sponsors to self-correct errors without reporting to the regulator. This has been expanded dramatically. So it really covers virtually all inadvertent administrative errors in a plan. The key here is that you must, once you identify that error, take steps to correct that error within a reasonable time period. And if you do that, then you can qualify for this self-correction. It does not qualify if this is identified by, let's say, the IRS during a plan audit and you haven't taken steps yet to correct that error. This is also extended to errors that occur in the payroll process when you have auto enrollment or as a result of auto enrollment. So this is a way for the government to encourage more plan sponsors to use auto enrollment, auto escalation in their plan design. In addition, hardship withdrawals, there's a certification process that plan sponsors are required to go through to ensure that an employee has met the hardship withdrawal conditions. This now allows the employee to self-certify. So if the plan sponsor chooses, they can push that off to the employee to self-certify their hardship need. In addition, we all are burdened with notices, and in this case, annual ongoing notices for individuals who are not participating in the plan, but they're eligible, can be eliminated. So the only thing that you need to do for annual ongoing notices for that group is the annual notice of eligibility. A number of improvements for 403B plans. We're conforming the hardship withdrawal conditions of 401k plans with those 403B plans. 403B plans will now have access, if they want, make access available to both employer contributions and earnings for hardship withdrawals. Also, 403B plans will now be allowed to join or form MEPs or PEPs, something that was allowed for 401k plans in Secure 1.0. And then finally, a number of options for emergency savings that are going to be available for plans going forward. We'll go to the next slide, please. Some new requirements. Catch-up contributions for those that are earning more than $145,000 next year will be required to be Roth going forward. So something that you need to be talking to your plan sponsor clients about now. Also, if you have startup plans that began at the beginning of this year, going forward, we'll have to have auto enrollment, auto escalation in their plan design. But they won't have to implement that until 2025. So they have a little bit of time to do that. Also, one paper benefit statement is going to have to be provided annually. That starts in 2026. And then eligibility for long-term part-time employees, those people who work 500 or more hours in a given year, that will be accelerated to 2 consecutive years where they work 500 or more hours. Next slide, please. There are some features that are specific to IRAs. So just to note, there are a couple of enhancements to qualified charitable distribution capabilities here. First, the $100,000 annual limit will be indexed for inflation. And then there's a new one-time capability up to $50,000 for some specific types of QCDs. that are outlined here. If you happen to make excess contributions to your IRA, once you take those corrective distributions, no longer will you have to pay that early withdrawal penalty. Next slide. And to round this out, the IRA catch-up limit is going to be indexed for inflation, so good news there. And a new capability, really exciting here, if you have unused 529 account savings, those can be rolled to a Roth IRA with a few conditions. The account must have been open for at least 15 years. There's a lifetime cap of $35,000, and that would be rolled to the beneficiary of the 529 plan for the Roth IRA. So that's kind of a quick hit, very quick hit. We move to the next slide. I'll give you the direction to the website where you can go to get more information. If we go to that next slide, and there is the URL that you can go to access a full provision summary of Secure 2.0. Really easy, user-friendly, easy to reference, and you can get more detail there. So I don't know if we have any time for Q&A, but John, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks so much, Lance. Any questions out there for the last couple minutes we have here?
Thanks for asking, John. It doesn't appear that we have any additional questions from the audience, but there may be others.
Very good. Well, Lance, one question I jotted down, thought if maybe you could expand on the emergency savings sidecar. And I noticed an annual emergency withdrawal is one of the bullet points. Is that something you could speak to?
Sure. Yes. So great question, John. So there are two capabilities, one focused on additional savings and the other focused on a new withdrawal capability. So the emergency savings, a sidecar account, would be an account that's established alongside a defined contribution plan. It would allow an employee to save after tax up to $2,500 a year. And then they could withdraw from that. They must be allowed at least monthly to take a withdrawal penalty free from that account. There are some complications with this, administrative complexities. So there is that $2,500 account threshold cap. So if somebody's contributing regularly to that account, once they hit the account threshold cap, the plan must redirect those contributions to the defined contribution plan. Also, if you're making a matching contribution in your defined contribution plan, you must also match the employee contributions to the after-tax savings account, but those matching contributions go to the defined contribution plan. In addition, you have to test all of these contributions across DC plan and emergency savings account for 402G limits. So pretty complex for, the ability to save $2,500. In addition, the new withdrawal capability would allow somebody to take out $1,000 from their DC plan without any early withdrawal tax or penalty. But in order to be eligible for the next withdrawal on the next year, they would have to recontribute up to the amount that they withdrew or repay the withdrawal into their account up to the amount that they withdrew. Or if they don't do either of those, they have to wait 3 years in order to be eligible for the next $1,000 withdrawal. So again, administrative complexities that go along with this when plans generally have the capabilities already for loans or traditional hardship withdrawals.
So without paying it back every 3 years, conceivably, a participant could take $1,000 withdrawal penalty free.
That's correct.
Got it. Well, very good, folks. Okay, I think we're at 1:20 on the dot, or Eastern time, 1:20. So I don't want to go over our slot here, but yeah, happy to answer any more questions, or feel free to, again, email me at mari.john@principal.com if there's anything at all I can do to be of service.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, John and Lance, for being here today. We really appreciate your participation, and obviously really welcome Principal support as a sponsor today. I did want to make a quick note before we go back to Thomas, who's going to talk to us a little bit about Definiti Direct. We did want to make sure that those of you that are here today know that there are 2 tracks for this particular Definiti Retirement Academy, and this is the advisor track. If you were intended to participate in the plan sponsor track, there is a different link for that. I've inserted that in the chat. you're welcome to attend, but you might find some really fabulous information in the plan sponsor track. So if you intended to register for that and participate in the plan sponsor track, you might want to follow the link to the other track that's happening right now. So Thomas, with that note, I will pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Elke. And again, John and Lance, thank you so much for participating in the Definiti Retirement Academy. We certainly appreciate Principal's participation and partnership